Alright guys, welcome back to Yospill. And as you can see behind me, we have Snow Bunny. Snow Bunny is all back together. Snow Bunny actually runs. And if you guys haven't followed along with the build series on this EK Civic, I'll take you back to, I don't know, about a year ago. We got the shell for 500 bucks. It's rather clean. We replaced a bunch of the braking, suspension and stuff. I built this car as a winter beater. It was a budget H22 swap. I got an H22 motor and transmission from a friend locally for dirt cheap. I bought a set of good mounts, Hasport mounts. I got like a 1320 header. It had a stock intake manifold that I ported in 368mm throttle body on, but the whole time it had stock injectors. Did put a good fuel, 450 fuel pump in the car. So it was like a super budget build. The car, I think I did a video and I talked about it. It's around $4,000 in total to have a good running, clean H22 EK that included the wheels and tires and everything to drive around in the snow and have fun using basically the D-series harness, extending a few wires. Nothing crazy. You can go back and watch those videos, but the car has changed a ton. And if you're here to watch this video is going to be all about the changes, what's new, what's old, and at the end I even might tally up what building this setup would cost compared to building the old setup. So, hope you're ready for this video. It's going to be a ton of talking, and like I said, it runs. So at the end of the video, I will start it so you guys can hear it at least idle. I do need to still install the wideband, hook it up to the Hondata. I need to install a, I need to wire the nitrous into the Hondata, and what else? That's it. Need to wire that up before we stick it on the dyno and to get to actually tuning it. Alright guys, so this is version 2.1 of Snow Bunny. This motor, this transmission, the intake manifold is all new. The car now has coil and plug. It has a ton of stuff. So if you know anything about this car, if you watch the old videos, still has the same wheels on it, still has the same tires, suspension, brakes, coilovers, everything is still the same. The interior is still immaculate as it was before. Nothing on the outside body has changed. Nothing on the interior has changed. Everything that was changed is under the hood. So, we'll get started on the motor. I'll go over piece by piece what's inside of it, and then intake manifold and header wise. And you'll notice there's a big difference from the old stock H22. So first off, this is the F22a6 Bottom End. This block came out of my early 90s Accord. It was in my Turbo CV7. I've actually owned this motor setup for about 9 years now. I built this thing a long time ago. The motor actually came out of the Turbo CV7. It had a set of low comp pistons in it. Then I changed it over to high comp pistons. It used to be a non-VTEC setup. Then I converted it to a VTEC head. Some people call it a G22 hybrid. It's just a Frankenstein motor. It literally has parts from all kinds of different Hondas in it. So, F22 bottom end, it has a set of pewter H23a rods. They're a set of about $1,000 rods. They're rated over 900 horsepower. So the rods are basically will never break in this thing. It has a stock F22a6 crank in it. It has a new Honda oil pump. It's actually not new anymore. It's been on the motor for years. It does have a set of JE 12-to-1 pistons in it. The reason why it took so long to get this car back together is because of the chromatic head gasket. I waited almost 4 months for the head gasket to get here. So it has a 26 thousandths crushed chromatic head gasket. Everything is on back order right now, as most of you know. So of course, head gasket took the longest. So the head has been sitting over there on the shelf. The short block has been sitting over here in the shop. Now, chromatic head gasket, JE pistons, pewter rods, stock crank. It has all ACL bearings in the motor. It has ARP studs, head studs, and rod bolts. It has ARP mains. I also converted it to the Euro R single row pulley. Since it's using an F22 bottom end, it has a manual tensioner, so it doesn't have the hydraulic tensioner that H22 has, which usually gives you an issue. As you see, the blue timing belt, it has a brand new Gates blue timing belt on it. And the head. So we'll get to the head. The head is P13 H22A it's an OBD1 head. It has Brian Crower dual springs and retainers in it. It has Brian Crower retainers in it. It has a set of Skunk 2 Pro1 cams in it. The head is ported. And the head also has Fiera flat face valves. So the valves give it even more compression. So this thing should be in the ballpark of 12.5 to 1. Like I said, with the Pro1 cams and the 12 to 1 compression, it should be a lot better filling than the H22. So now that's what's internally in the motor. To make one of those hybrid motors, you have to do a couple of things. First of all, the crank pulley down here has to be off an H22. The water pump right there is a F22 housing with an H22 pulley pressed onto it, and that's how you get to run the H22 timing belt using a single cam block and a dual cam head. You have 2 ports right here on the head, on the underside, you have to block off. These are welded and taken to a machine shop, so they do not leak. Everyone that puts these hybrid motors together always has issues with them leaking. They always have issues because they don't weld the head. They'll either try to RTV it or some ghetto fabulous way of doing it. Usually leaks, and then they complain that the motors are trash. Well, the motor's not trash, you just put it together bad. If you guys know anything about H22s, this is a Roscoe Racing Euro R intake manifold. It has every billet part they offered. It has the IAC adapter, has the EGR block off, has the fuel rail adapter, has their throttle cable adapter, everything to make a Euro R H22 intake manifold work on your H22 head. Your American H22 head with a Euro intake manifold. It has a 68mm throttle body. It is port matched. If you guys know, the car does have a nitrous outlet single fogger kit. I need to hook everything else back up to make that all work. The transmission is a T2T4 Euro LSD transmission. It has Syncrotech synchros in it. It still has the factory style LSD, but this thing was amazing in my Accord, so in my Civic it should be amazing as well. OEM map sensor, OEM throttle body, or OEM TPS. It does have a set of FIC 1000s in it now, and it does have the Robert Burton coil on plug setup. You can see here his coil plate. It's made by Honda Rules. These are K20 coils, and you have to run the 2668 plugs that are a, I guess, igniter style plug. And you do have to run a distributor, but inside the distributor, you can see right here, you get to remove your ICM, your coil, and your rotor. I haven't actually bought the cap. I'm going to. It deletes this and makes it look a lot cleaner. This is, I call it the Bluetooth spark plug delete. It's just no spark plugs, wires. Other than that, still has the same Hasport mounts in it, same radiator, same fan. Oh, another thing we added. The car now has a traction bar. It has a Taco traction bar, which is nothing fancy. It's just a basic off the shelf eBay traction bar. Still has the Hasport mounts. And yeah, I think that's all I've changed. Yeah, same starter. Oh, shifter cables. So it did have the OEM shifter, H22. I don't know if I ever showed the video. I took out the billet eBay shifter because the cable snapped in half. Well, it now has Torque Solutions poly inserts in the shifter. So the shifter is a lot stronger. And then the clutch. So before, when we took it to the track, we had a problem with the clutch slipping. As you guys know, this motor will potentially make 250-ish horsepower on E85. This motor is already made in my Accord. It made 241 with a stock F20B head on it, and then it made 247 with a cut F20B head on it. And then the spring started making really weird noises when I was revving it past 8,500, so I pulled that head off and I had got this head built. When I put this head back on, I had I never put it back on the dyno, so I didn't know exactly what it made. But I would assume it's somewhere in the 240 range on E85 in my CB7. And then I also put it in my CD. Like I said, this motor's been around for almost 10 years now, 9 or 10 years. This motor's been in many different cars. This motor's been boosted. It's been non-VTEC. It's been VTEC. It's had RBC on it. It's had a stock P13 on it. Now it has a Euro R on it. So this setup has done me well over the years. But once you spend this much money on a motor, you hope that you don't have many issues with it. So Snow Bunny version 2.1 looks the same on the outside, has a whole new heart, has a new LSD transmission, well, new to it LSD transmission, has a stage 3 clutch in it now, so we shouldn't have any issues with that. And hope you guys are ready for the sounds of 12-to-1 compression with Pro1 cams. Let me start her up for you. If you guys remember, this car also has a 99 2000 SI cluster that only has 80,000 miles on it. It is on a Honda S300 version 3 that has every option. Has boost by gear, coil unplugged from Robert Burton, the whole 9 yards. When I sent it out to him, he checked over the ECU. He made sure everything was perfect. And then we have a OEM Prelude shifter box all shoved underneath the factory EK center console. So yeah, from the outside it looks pretty stock. From the inside it looks pretty stock. And 450 fuel pump. Give her some time to prime. This is only the third start of this motor with it in this car, so hopefully she starts good. I knew she would die sooner or later. I do gotta adjust everything. Like I said, this thing was in a stock set of injectors and everything. It is now on a set of 1000 cc's. I do need to put some fuel in it, but at least you guys got a good first start, and the deer headliner for you that remember about it. Alright guys, so this is the end of the video. I know this whole video has been talking, except for us starting the car and running it. And the only thing I think I forgot in the video was the flywheel. It does now have a 12-pound flywheel in it, whereas before it was all stock. So if we get to adding up the prices of what is spent in this car, I remember going over the old video. The old video was around $4,000 all said and done. ECU, tuning, everything. Well, that doesn't include my personal time of tuning it or putting it together. So if you took your EK to a shop and had them do a full H22 swap, and you could buy an H22 for, you know, $500, $600 like I did, you would have somewhere around $4,000 invested into a low 14-second, basically stock Civic, and it should get, on pump gas I was getting like 25 miles to the gallon, so it should be fun to drive and, you know, get good gas mileage. Now, if you talk about a build like this, the rods are $1,000, the pistons are $700, the machine work was like, I think $1,200 for the block, the head, surfacing. The gasket was $200 or $100. The head alone has, I think, $2,100 in it. Clutch flywheel assembly was another like $700. Just to find a T2 T4, the Euro LSD transmission, you're gonna spend, I think I've seen them for $1,400 now. You can buy the Accord block for pretty cheap. You can go to the junkyard and get one of those. The Euro R single row pulley, I've seen them selling for like $100 online. A set of FIC injectors, you're gonna spend $400 or $500 for those. So just quick math in my head, this car went from a $4,000 car to about a $10,000 car. Now, it still looks the same on the outside. It's still, well, it doesn't sound the same. You can tell it's cammed. But if you take that into aspect, your simple throw together Civic builds, you're gonna be $3,000 to $4,000, and the prices of these cars are going through the roof. Right now with the used car market the way it is, I've seen people posting stock GSRs for 10 grand, which is crazy, but there's people out there paying for it. So, and anytime you modify a car, if you do it in a I guess, respectful way, and you do a nice build, you can get money back out of it, but you'll only ever get money back out if you actually part it out, sell all the parts. And there's people that actually do that as a business every day. They actually buy race cars and part them out, and they make money off of them. So yeah, taking your $4,000 H22 EK, stock pretty much everything, using stock injectors in the whole 9 yards, and turning it into a $10,000 pretty built, like there's not much else you could do to the G22 hybrid that's in there. The transmission has pretty much everything you can do to it, besides like a Gear X gear set. But taking your $4,000 stock EK H22 build and turning it into a basic $10,000 build will result you in the same looking car with hopefully a lot more horsepower. Like I said, with the injectors we have, we'll probably end up on the 85 or something like that. The only thing I don't want to do 85 is because in the winter, cold starts suck on the 85. So it's kind of a catch-22. So I might, I don't know, make 230, 240 wheel, which is still 40, 50 horsepower more than it made before. I will get it on the dyno for you guys and make a video on tuning it. But until then, like I said, I still have a few more things to wrap up on the car. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I know it's all talking, but I'll hopefully post this on all the H22, F22 pages, and hopefully you guys get a kick out of it. Until the next one, as always, if you haven't subscribed to YoSpilt, subscribe below, and you guys are the greatest.